painting business owners, when they hit about that 750 to a million, or probably that 750, 800-ish mark, and they're by themselves, there's something that we call, instead of at that size, it really depends on your strategy. Do you want to scale into 2 or 3 million, or do you want to stay, like, do you want to squeeze to 1.5? They're completely different strategies, right? So when you hit about that 800, you kind of have to make that decision, because either you're going to work and move down the efficiency path, or you're going to move down the maximizing path. If you want to hit the 2 to 3 million, you have to move down maximizing, not optimizing, right? Which means you're actually going to lower your profit, because you're going to start to bring in systemization. You're going to start to bring in personnel and team, and that's going to enable you to go beyond.
Welcome to the Painter Growth Podcast, where we help you scale your painting company in record time. Join us as we explore sales, marketing, hiring, finances, leadership, and more, everything that you need to know to scale and grow your painting business. I hope you enjoy and subscribe.
What's up, everybody? Mike Hickman here, founder of PainterGrowth.com, and you're listening to another episode of, hopefully another episode. I mean, if it's your first one, welcome, but hopefully you listen to another episode of the Painter Growth Podcast. I'm here with a new friend and marketing business owners focused on just painting contractors, and a recent entry into the painting industry through an acquisition partnership, which is pretty exciting. Mr. Jacob Ransom. What's up, man? Good to have you today.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So I guess you got in the marketing space first, and then you decided to invest in a painting business. So, like, what brought that about? How did that end up happening?
Actually, I was in the painting space first. I sold my first painting company and then went into marketing, and then got in.
Okay.
Yeah.
What made you decide to go back into the trenches?
I think what really made me want to get back in was the idea that we had a lot of bold ideas we wanted to do. I consider myself more of a player rather than a coach. And so a practitioner at heart. So I've always wanted to get back into it. That's always kind of been the goal. I'm an accidental agency owner. So I didn't start Ransom Digital to try and grow a big agency. I originally sold when we lived in Michigan. We moved to Tennessee. I tried to start another painting company. I was already helping a few people out with their Facebook ads. And it was right during 2020. So all of the subs out here were booked like 12 months out, like just our location. So I was like, either I have to start over from scratch and like train employees, or I've got like 3 or 4 clients that I'm helping on the side. What if we just try the advertising? If that never works, then we can always come back into painting. So that was 4 or 5 years ago. And then in 2023, I wanted to get back into the painting game because I have the time and resources to do so. And so that's when we made that happen.
Very cool. Very cool. So you did that last year. How's the first year back in the business been?
Oh, I love it. It's incredible. Yeah.
What's changed since your first go around?
You have a completely different approach. So it's looking at it more as a system and as a machine rather than having an emotional attachment to it. So you don't really, it's more like a game now than it was before. When we're looking at growth is after having and helping so many painting company owners grow and see the mistakes that they've made, seeing the wins that they've made, things like that, being able to take the ideas and the direction that you give and actually just be able to put it through your own company has been really beneficial to see and to experience, and put a lot of my hypotheticals and a lot of my hypothesis to the test to see if they actually check out, a lot of which is cool.
Yeah, I like that. Like, kind of like looking at it less emotionally. I know a lot of business owners are like, I have to pick up the check, or I have to do the walkthrough, I have to be on site, right? And like all these self-limiting beliefs that just like all they do is hold the business back.
Yes.
What's happened to the painting business in terms of like where is it at right now in terms of like revenue? I know it's the slow season right now, but just give us an idea of like what's happened with the business since you've rejoined it.
Yeah. So last year we ended just under 800. This year we're on pace for about 3 million this year.
That's a big growth. It's pretty early to make that call though.
I think we'll actually go above that. It's our conservative estimate. Yeah.
Awesome, man. That's huge. If you're able to pull that off, that would be pretty darn impressive. Now you do a lot in the digital marketing. So like what, and I want to get back into the systems part of the business, because that's like one of the most important things.
Sure.
Where's all your lead flow going to be coming for this 3 mil?
Right now, about 96% of it's from Facebook. I believe we can squeeze Facebook up to probably 3 million, maybe 2.5. But really the danger becomes not really the lead source falling away, but more just the differentiation. So if something happens to Facebook, we're out of luck. That actually happened to the company last year. Their Facebook got shut down, not because of anything wrong with the ads or anything. It was a payment issue, but like Facebook suddenly had issues with the payment, but it was about a month it was down. And because the company was ranking #1 on Google, we assumed that it would be totally fine. In reality, it wasn't. They went from doing 90,000 the month before to doing like 18 the next month because the Facebook disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
So that is really the biggest thing with me, is just want to get the differentiation in
Platform
there.
risk, I call that.
Yeah, it's a platform risk, like just making sure we can actually, do we have other channels that we can actively spend on that's going to be able to give us a return? So we actually did launch TikTok ads during that time, and it actually helped us out quite a bit and got back into that. So we always have that in the back of our mind.
Got local homeowner leads from TikTok?
So, oh yeah.
Awesome.
Crushed. Yeah.
Really? That's pretty cool. That's interesting for sure. I think that the demographic of TikTok is definitely getting older. But so before we dig into like Facebook strategy, because I want to do that, like I think like part of the purpose of this podcast is like have everyone walk away with actionable insights, things that they can use and take away and build their business from.
Sure.
Let's bounce back to the system side of it, because like running an $800,000 painting business is very different than running a $3 million painting business, right? 800,000, you can, I know you have a partner, but 800,000 more or less, you can kind of hustle your way to 800,000. That's like 70,000 a month or so, and like you can definitely hustle that. 3 million is a different story. So what type of like infrastructural changes are you implementing to make sure that like the shit doesn't fall apart, on the way to 3 million?
Yeah. That's a great question, Mike. So there's something we've seen, which is painting business owners, when they hit about that 750 to $1 million, or probably that 750, 800-ish mark, and they're by themselves, there's something that we call, instead of at that size, it really depends on your strategy. Do you want to scale into 2 or 3 million, or do you want to stay, like, do you want to squeeze to 1.5? They're completely different strategies, right? So when you hit about that 800, you kind of have to make that decision, because either you're going to work and move down the efficiency path, or you're going to move down the maximizing path. If you want to hit the 2 to 3 million, you have to move down maximizing, not optimizing, right? Which means you're actually going to lower your profit, because you're going to start to bring in systemization. You're going to start to bring in personnel and team. And that's going to enable you to go beyond. There's a period which we call, which is like 1.5 to 2, we call it no man's land, because you're either going to maximize, you're going to float above that, or you're going to optimize the crap out of everything and you're going to max out at like 1.5, right? No one really stays in the 1.7 range that actually enjoys their business kind of thing. Either they're overworked or they have too much systemization and not making enough money at that point, right? So it really depends on the strategy. But for us, right, we knew this going in. We immediately started hiring. We brought our pricing right into line in order to give us the profit margins we need. We're averaging about 60% gross right now. And that gives us plenty of gross margin to be able to afford to take a hit during that time period to bring on the people necessary to go up above. Did that answer your question?
I mean, yeah, in broad terms,
Sort of.
I'd like to like dig into that a little bit. So,
Sure.
Yeah, hire people, implement systems. What do you think the team, what does the team look like right now?
Yeah, the team right now looks like we've got one sales guy. We're currently interviewing for our second salesperson and a project manager. And then we have a call center, which is on my end, but we have a full staff call center on my end that we provide. And then we are also hiring for an office admin right now at the same time.
Okay. Sales, project manager, call center, office admin. Plus, like, are you typically like a 1099 setup? Are you going W2 for your employees, your painters?
For admin, it'll probably be W2. For sales, we're probably going to go down the 1099 path.
And painters?
Painters are all sub.
What city are you in?
That company is based out of Baton Rouge. I don't even live in the same city. I'm based out of Tennessee.
Yeah. Okay. Is population Baton Rouge pretty solid, hey?
The Facebook targeting is probably around 400 to 500K.
Oh, that's not huge.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Okay,
Mhm.
sweet. So I'm just looking at this. So sales, project manager, call center, office admin. What do you anticipate being the biggest risk, the biggest challenge when it comes to pulling this off?
The biggest challenge when it comes to pulling it off, I think, is going to be really on the sales side. I believe we have a really solid sales process, but just bringing in the right personnel for that, I think, is going to be the biggest thing. Everything's going to be harder than you expect it is, right? So just because we have a solid sales process doesn't mean it's going to be easy to be able to bring that in and duplicate it, because that's the most integral part to us hitting our goals is going to be the sales part. It's not leads, right? It's almost entirely going to be sales personnel is the biggest thing.
You don't anticipate production being an issue. If you can sell it, you'll be able to produce it.
We have a wait list of subs who want to work with us. Yeah, I don't see that being an issue.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. I mean, it's going to be like a really very interesting case study, regardless if you pull it off or not. I think if you document as much as possible throughout this journey, I think you probably can generate a lot of solid learnings, for people to take out of that, regardless of if you hit that goal or not. Just like with that type of goal and that type of growth, you're gonna learn some stuff.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be fun.
No, absolutely. So let's look at the Facebook strategy for a second. So,
Sure.
Facebook ads and Instagram ads, often just called Facebook ads. Some areas say Facebook ads seem to crush. Some areas Facebook ads don't seem to crush. I mean, what do you see is working right now?
Facebook ads work everywhere for everybody. It's really just that comes down to a skill issue, right? So we have clients in every conceivable market in the US, between ultra challenger markets like Denver, New York, LA, all the way down to tiny little rural towns of 40,000 people, right? To target in, and it can work everywhere, right? The idea that Facebook ads don't work somewhere, I think, is a oversimplification. It just hasn't worked for you, or whoever's tried it, right? But Facebook ads for me is the largest missed opportunity, I think, in the not the Facebook, but the painting space. It almost feels to me like Facebook ads is perfect for painting. It is like the number one, in my opinion, the highest leverage, the highest return, the biggest opportunity for painting right now, specifically for smaller companies. Larger companies, we've just talked to several franchises, their CMOs, et cetera, and they just cannot execute it the same way in the same level that smaller companies can. So the opportunity for it right now is just massive. And a lot of people are sleeping on it. A lot of people have dabbled in it or something like that, but they haven't really tried to work to make it work for them. And it's a big missed opportunity, in my opinion.
I mean, I think a lot of the smaller businesses, especially, look at it, marketing as a cost initially, which is the wrong way to look at it. But then in addition to that, they try, a few $100s here, a few $100s there, Facebook ads. They don't see that immediate ROI, and then they get cold feet and they're like, yeah, it's not working for me.
Sure.
Right? Instead of like executing that testing budget. So what strategies right now are working? Like, what's working for creative? What's working for, like, is it video? Is it image? Is it long copy, short copy? Like, just give us a little bit of insight into what you're seeing working, more or less.
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's what we see work across the majority of markets, but not all markets are the same. So number one, we run everything. We run image and video. I will tell you that in challenger markets, especially if you haven't seen easy success right out of the gate, video is really the big thing there. But specifically, it has to be an actual strategic approach to it. So it's not just the fact that you did a video. The video actually has to be good. Like, someone has to be able to watch the ad and come away with something. There has to be some sort of value there, whether it's entertainment or it's education or something along those lines. The other part of it is that we want to utilize Facebook for both ends of the funnel, which no painting companies really track or comprehend at this point, which is kind of interesting to me. I think it's a big gap in the industry, which is the idea of tracking your bottom of funnel and your top of funnel, your demand generation and your demand capture. we tend to make all of our decisions based on demand capture, when in reality, it's the demand generation that actually is the biggest lever. I believe that's the secret behind our stuff, which is we focus on demand generation, not demand capture. And that's what has allowed us to, like this painting company we just acquired, the idea of leads being an issue is like, it's never been an issue. We've never been less than 2 weeks booked out with appointments. Never. Right.
So
Even over the winter,
clarification
everything.
For people listening in, top of funnel means like people who've never heard of you before, you getting your ad in front of them for the first time. And then bottom of funnel is like retargeting, warm lists, and people who are more likely to convert, people who are engaging with your ads, who are potentially opting in. That's bottom of funnel. They're like higher likelihood. So you're running like different ad campaigns, top of funnel, bottom funnel, probably testing out maybe even the same ad, top of funnel, bottom funnel, or.
Oh yeah. So our bottom of funnels are intent channels. It's the way people actually contact the business, right? That's going to be a lot of your inbound. It could also be.
So your top of funnel is just like engagement?
We break it off into those two parts. So top of funnel is not necessarily even engagement. It's how people find out about you. It's how they entered into the funnel in the first place. How they even find out you existed, right? So we actually do hybrid tracking for top of funnel. And then we also track our intent channel and our bottom of funnel, right? So people may come in the funnel and find out about you one way and then cross over and drop out on the other side. For instance, we have a company out of Denver whose Facebook videos specifically accounted for 82% of their top of funnel, yet was only like 14% of their bottom of funnel. So they kept it going either way because they were asking at the appointment stage, which we call our hero stage within the pipeline, where did you first hear about us? And we found your number on Google. Does that mean you searched painter near me? Well, no, I heard about you from my cousin Karen. Okay, referral, right? That's where they first heard about us. A lot of people are saying they found them on Facebook and then looked them up on Google. If he had made his decisions like most normal painting companies, they would have cut the Facebook, for instance, and put all of the money into Google, because the Google guys are like, oh, your SEO is crushing. And then if they were to do that, their SEO would have fallen off a cliff, right? SEO results would have fallen off a cliff because that was the hand that was feeding the opposite side. We want to track those separately. And so when you can see where things are coming in, and then where they're coming out, of course, you want to be able to track them differently, but we actually run separate campaigns for the two. So we run more brand awareness style things at the top and then more direct response for the bottom. And we do track them accordingly.
Yeah. So nerd question that nobody else is going to care about except me.
Sure.
For your painting business, are you going to use something like Hyros?
No, because we have all of our tracking. We don't need to do it through software tracking. We do it through qualitative. So we're actually asking and then we're manually bucketing. So it's something that our sales guy has to ask and has to fill out because we want to track that at the appointment level. I don't want to rely on a software to try to track through that way.
Yeah, the reason I like Hyros, we use that internally for our sales tracking. We spend a lot of money on Facebook. And the way that it can track like exactly which lead turned into a sale and sales cycle and all this stuff, it's just like and
then feed it back into the algorithm.
And then they feed back the data, and then when there's an overlay on Facebook ads, so you can see exactly which ads have which ROI over what time period. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hyros is very impressive to me.
If I were to run ads for my agency, I would do that. Yeah. But for local brand, so on the agency side, it's much more direct response, right? There's not really a top of funnel level. Does that make sense? Because you're not building name brand. Does that kind of make sense? Like you're not to do that at a national level, you'd have to be spending like a metric butt ton of money. Because you're going up against Coke and Pepsi and does that make sense to build a national brand? But at the local level, you can actually do that. You can become a super well-known, our sales guy's a local celebrity in Baton Rouge. He gets selfies taken with him. He gets recognized out and about. Like we've built.
I'll push back on that a little bit. I think that if you're targeting an audience like painting contractors, where there's 500,000 of them in the States, there's no difference between that and then targeting 500,000 people in Baton Rouge.
Oh, actually, I agree with that.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah.
Cool.
We're getting definitely an aside there. So So top of funnel, I think that this is a huge opportunity for painting contractors to break down and be a little bit more scientific. So if anyone's like looking for that actionable tip, you want to just like, I mean, I could explain it, but I'd rather you explain it because you're the guest. How would you set up how would you recommend someone who's dabbled in Facebook, they kind of understand what you're talking about, and they're listening to this, like, hey, let's just do a quick step-by-step. How do I set up the top of funnel versus bottom of funnel?
Yeah, totally. So what we do is we run brand awareness for our top of funnel. A simpler way you could do it, you actually had Dennis Yu on earlier, who I freaking love Dennis Yu. At the basic level, super simple, is follow the $1 a day strategy. Start an organic strategy. So start posting organically, post every day, post tips, think TikTok level, right? Take the pieces of content that do really well and boost them for 100 days for $100, $1 a day, right? That's going to get your foot into the door. From that point on, what you can do is start adjusting your content strategy to be a little bit more educational, maybe with a small call to action in it, right? Think like how to transform your home in 7 days. You cover a 5-step process. And then at the end, you simply have, it sounds like a lot of work. You don't want to do it yourself, you can give us a call. Super simple, right? That's the type of thing you would then may want to take into the back end of Facebook and actually run under what's called a brand awareness campaign. We used to run engagement. Brand awareness is working much better for us right now. Run that. Highly recommend doing only videos for brand awareness. Try to run 3 to 5 different ads like that for a couple of bucks a piece. And then watch your hook rate, which is your 3-second video views divided by your impressions. And watch your CPMs on it. You're going to be able to see what the audience is starting to respond to. The next thing that you can do is start to look at what the audience is responding to and start to move into that vein on your actual ads. So you're running these 3 to 5 brand awareness ads, right? Then just run one direct response, just one. And you're just going to test that. You're going to pop it out to the market, see how it responds, and then pull it back. Change it up a little bit, pop it out. See how it responds, pull it back, right? It's
that direct response though, are you running at bottom of funnel?
Bottom of funnel, yep. Now bottom of funnel is still open broad targeting.
Okay.
All of this is the same targeting. We're not doing retargeting, nothing else.
Targeting.
Literally just location targeting. Leave ages open, gender open, everything. The algorithm knows way more than you do about this stuff. A lot of people also don't know is that the algorithm is taking the creative you make into account almost more than your actual targeting recommendations. So for instance, we had a client who gave us a bunch of pictures when they started with us of decks and they wanted exteriors. We could try our best, but he just got leads for decks and he was upset about it. And then he finally got us some exteriors and lo and behold, they all disappeared and he's getting stuff for exteriors. It's because the algorithm knows, Facebook knows what the creative is and it's actually taking that into account in your targeting way more than your actual targeting is at a local level, right? This is all different from running for a coaching, consulting, or even e-commerce or something like that. But run your bottom of funnel to super open targeting. For that ad, go for like a 15 to 30 second, make it a true ad. What we're seeing work really well right now is like 2 clips of B-roll. So 2 clips of people painting or something like that, about 2 or 3 seconds each, and then just do a 10-second pitch to a lead form. And if that doesn't work, you start swapping out pieces of that. So try out a different B-roll clip, try out a different pitch, if that makes sense. And then you keep doing that, and over time, you're going to end up getting some really fantastic results.
Well, I've done a lot of podcast episodes with Facebook ad guys, and this is definitely a unique way of doing it. I've been doing Facebook ads a long time. I probably spent, I think $800,000 on Facebook ads, for my own business. And this is the way to do it. I would 100% agree with that. Splitting out top of funnel, bottom of funnel. I've never seen a marketing agency for a trades business do that. It's smart.
Right. That's where it's like we have the hypothesis. I wanted to be able to try it and really grow something with it. This is just where I naturally kind of my interests lie. Yeah.
Very cool, man. So we get the lead form. What do you say about how do you deal with lead quality? Right? Facebook leads are shit.
So a couple of things. When we first start someone out, if they're in like a little bit of a more challenger market, so we get a lot of these maybe like Atlanta or something like that. Oftentimes they'll either go one of two ways. Either it's very hard to get leads, or they get a ton of leads for super cheap, but half of them won't pick up the phone. Now I have a call center. So this is also where we separate a little bit. Is I actually have people that call
In-house, right?
literally
Like you built the call
in-house,
center.
like they're literally over there,
Yeah.
right? Like Kate's manning the phone right now over there. So I get the first, like the market managers, and I get the first response, like, hey, half these leads, like the phone number's wrong. That's when we get in and we're like, okay, challenger market. We know that $20, $30 is a little bit too cheap for this market. We know what the target should be. So what we do is we just add in friction to the form until we get that point. Usually we do it once, and then like it just completely solves that issue, right? From there, you have what does quality mean? Like, does that just mean you mean these leads are shit? Is that like
someone who picks up the phone and it has an indication of they want to paint, right? Like
Yeah.
usually we're seeing like 50% of people, not like, but people are telling me they're seeing like 50% of the leads don't even pick up the phone, right? That's the biggest objection with Facebook.
So that is friction. Add friction to the form, right? The people picking up the phone. The next thing that we don't hear this anymore.
Slow down.
Go for it.
Define what friction is.
Friction is more questions in the form. Make it a little bit harder for people to actually fill it out.
What types of questions would you recommend someone put in to add friction?
So the first thing so at the base, like if we're testing out something brand new, we're doing just name, phone number, email, and maybe city. And then if we're finding that the leads are too cheap, and maybe if anything, okay, if we have a 10% rate or higher of people who don't pick up the phone, that's a low quality setup for us. So we start to add friction. You're going to add a question at a time, but we'll then add in like, what service are you looking for? How quickly are you looking at getting this done? Usually just adding those two has solved almost entirely all of our lead pickup, like the phone pickup,
problems. So you aim for like a 90% plus.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
our setting team books 83% of all of our leads.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
Facebook
17%, lead slippage rate, which is
right. That also counts things that we disqualify out though. So outside service area, wrong service, and then also under project value.
Yeah. Okay. Wicked. So that definitely helps. And then how about in terms of like the setter strategy? So you call in lots of times, you call in once, you text first, text, call, text, double dial. What's like this strategy to maximize pickup rate? All
the above. So there's another cool tip I'll give you. The next pushback, we don't hear this anymore, but we hear from a lot of people who come into us of description of other ads that they've run in the past, which is half the people say that they didn't fill it out. Right?
Yeah.
We have found this entirely comes down to how you're picking up the phone. Entirely. Just adjust the first opening script and you can completely solve that. We solve that by, instead of picking up the phone and saying, hey, is this Julie Robinson? Did you fill out a form on Facebook? Instead, you just say, hey, this is Jake with Swift Painting. Did you get that painting project taken care of? Something along those lines. Don't ask them if they were the one who filled out the lead. Of course they were. It's their name and number, right? Yeah. Instead, just go in immediately. Don't even necessarily ask if they need your help or anything like that. Just go in immediately and ask if they have gotten the project that they actually requested from you taken care of yet. Yeah. That has solved that completely for us. It's an easy switch.
Then it just like removes that of them having to think back to the Facebook ad. It's just like, do I need painting? It's like, well, yeah, I do. I just filled this thing out.
Most people don't remember filling out the Facebook form, but they do know that they were looking for a painter.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's funny. Facebook, people on Facebook have such a short attention span. It's just like, it's actually like incredible. I don't know if it's not the right word, but like very ridiculous how short people's attention spans are when they're on social media. Yeah. Any other like pro tips people can take and implement?
Yeah. So I didn't answer your original question, which was, what does our process look like? We do double dial, voicemail, text. We call 18 times before we move them into long-term follow-up, which we have a 6-month sequence in. We pulled that from some friends I have that own an agency in the real estate space, and they found that we're starting to do our own tracking now. So we're actually tracking booking rate per reach out attempt, which is kind of interesting. So I want to see, okay, by reach out 5, what percentage have booked? What percentage are going to book between 5 and 10, et cetera? If we, for instance, find that nothing books beyond 11, we'll move our reach out attempts down to 11. But based on the data I have from like some friends I have in the real estate market, they found that 18 was basically beyond 18, the likelihood of converting them on reach outs isn't going to be very high. So we're pulling from that. And then we do double dial voicemail text.
Yeah.
Manual.
Yeah, it's super valuable, right? Most people are calling them maybe 3 or 4 times, saying that they didn't answer, and then giving up, right? Definitely not squeezing all the blood out of those rocks.
I think their mindset's just incorrect about it, right? We found that customers actually, they actually, like, we don't get pushback on it. Like, contractors immediately sometimes like pushback, oh, that's way too much, I'm harassing people. It's like, they requested your information. And then the way people work nowadays is that they almost get mad at you if you stop calling them, because to them, like, basically the contractor says, if they wanted to hire me, they would pick up the phone. But the homeowner is sitting there also saying the same thing. If they wanted my business, they would give me a call. They'd call me more than twice if they really wanted my business, right? Because they may be busy or something like that. The other thing is we call different times of the day, right? A lot of contractors will just call during the same time every day. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are busy. So our call center works into the evenings and on the weekends, and we get a lot of our pickups outside of the 9 to 5. You know what I mean? Because people work.
Mm-hmm.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, right. People who can afford painting services work during the day. I mean, I always think too, when my dentist tries to get a hold of me, like they'll call me and call me and call me. I'm in meetings like 30 hours a week. And like, I'm not picking up the phone for my dentist, but then it's not like I don't want to hear from them. I don't need what they're calling me about. It's just like, it's not a good time. Try again. And then they'll like send me a text and I'll text back and it's good.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then if they didn't call me that many times, I probably wouldn't get my teeth cleaned. So
exactly. Like it's really interesting how just the way we think about it can adjust it.
Yeah.
So
other than like being aggressive, I would say aggressive is a term, aggressive and tenacious on your calling. What other like kind of like pro tips or hacks can you provide, or can you think about that like people can start implementing right away that would increase their Facebook ROI?
Their Facebook ROI. So the first thing is just move into video if you're not. The next thing is work your leads, right? Like it's, I would say this, your approach should be long-term, not short-term. And what I've found is the fastest way to get results is to stop chasing the short-term stuff. It's just what we've seen, right? When you get into it and just say, okay, I'm going to make Facebook work, that's when it will work really well for you. If you are always just dipping a toe in, you're just like, oh, I'm going to see if it works and then I'll put the effort in. It's never going to work for you. Like it may one time, like a lot of people come in, they tried Facebook ads, it worked for 2 months and then results fell off. It's like, because that's not the way it works. Marketing is what's called a fluid environment. It changes on a daily basis, monthly basis, et cetera. That doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you have to keep that effort ongoing. And if you can do that, you absolutely can systemize it. You can make it to where it doesn't feel like much at all. Like I said earlier, it's one of the highest leverage activities. I explain like this: door to door, you have to show up for every door that you knock. Like you could, you know what I mean? You've got to be in the mood. You've got to show up and actually deliver on every door that you knock. With Facebook, you just have to do that once. So just spend a couple hours, show up once, capture it, and you can use that ad for 6 months straight. It's super high leverage. You can just have that working for a really long time. That gives you plenty of time to work on getting the next one, right? And I love door-to-door. We're going to try to implement some door-to-door canvassing this year. I think door-to-door is one of the only other channels where you can take someone from top of funnel and bring them all the way down to bottom of funnel in the same channel as well, which is really cool. It's very, very much so like Facebook in that respect. Facebook, I think, is just a little bit higher leverage in that respect. You can triple your ad spend, but finding 3 new door knockers or canvassers is harder. You know what I mean?
On a basic level, I would like say door to door is really good for people if they have a lot of time, but they don't have a lot of money, right? It's like a really good way to get started.
Yep.
Facebook, you do need a testing budget. You don't want to be desperate for money in order to get into Facebook, because like you have to be okay with going through $2,000 and not getting immediate ROI like while you're testing. Yep. So if you're small and you're starting and you're listening to this, then don't jump all into Facebook. Don't take food off the table. But if you're like, I would say if you're doing 20K plus a month, then yeah, definitely you need to get Facebook into the arsenal.
Totally. Yeah. It's a underutilized, underleveraged channel by most companies. And I agree. I think door knocking is the easiest. Like if you're an owner and you have time and you're just sitting around twiddling your thumbs, waiting for work to come in, like go knock doors.
Yeah.
I've done it. Like absolutely.
Yeah, so have I. I've booked hundreds of thousands of dollars of work door knocking. It's wonderful. Remember this one time I had like 7 painters. It was Thursday and we had to work until Friday. And I was like, I don't want to lay off my painters on Monday. And so that Thursday night, Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, I literally sprinted door to door. I probably knocked like 5,000 doors in 4 days. And my painters had work. We never ran out of work once.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
That's super helpful. So, I mean, yeah, that's a lot of really good advice, and appreciate you being kind of open book about that. So are you like for your agency, are you still accepting new clients? Like, what does that look like?
We do have a wait list. Our wait list right now is into March. We've maintained about a 1 to 2 month out since last year. But yeah, we do have a client cap though, because my goal is to grow our painting company. We've turned our kind of agency into a support for that. So yeah, it's just a really interesting way to grow it. But yeah.
Have you connected with Eric at all? Pathfinder?
I haven't.
No? Because he opened his painting company at the start of this year, started last year, after running his marketing company for years. But the difference with him is he had never painted before. So he like went in first year by himself, eyes wide open.
Yeah, my first painting company, like I worked 90-hour weeks. I painted 50, 100 kitchens myself. I did the fine finishing stuff. I freaking love fine finishing. HVLP stuff, my little brother does automotive finishes, so he trained me on it for 2 weeks straight. We built a downdraft booth in my garage, and that's how we launched our first one. And it was a blast, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good niche if you know how to do it.
Oh, absolutely. I love it because it's very systemized. Like, as long as you just follow the system, like you have a very high likelihood of achieving a good outcome. And it's also really good for people who are thorough. If you're not thorough, it's going to be really hard to be successful in it.
Yeah. See, I'm a big picture kind of guy. I always got frustrated painting. I don't have a really high level of attention to detail, so I was never that good of a painter, but I could hire good painters, and that was more important of a skill.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Sweet, man. So how can someone get a hold of you if they want to like reach out and apply to work with you?
Just hit me up on Facebook is the best way.
Just Facebook, honestly. Jacob Ransom or Ransom Digital?
Yeah, Ransom Digital, Jacob Ransom. I think we also have ransomdigital.com you can hit up.
Yeah.
But that's the best way.
Sweet, man. Well, I can put the links below. I guess anything else that you can kind of think about that would be valuable for the audience in terms of like your journey either so far or like what you're planning this year?
Who do you feel like is more of your audience? Is it more of the smaller or is some of the more aggressive growth?
Pretty, everyone's definitely focused on growth who listens to this podcast. I think we have a fair share of smaller contractors, 20 to 40K a month, but there's a fair share of the $1 million plus too. So I'd kind of say we have the gambit.
Okay. Yeah. I would just really say that when you start your second company, something that's like, okay, you have experience. Why is it that some people start their second company? It doesn't even matter what niche it is. You have like Ellison who ran in insurance and then opened into painting. They just seem to like grow faster. And it's really because they have, number one, proper expectations. Set right again, just because they have the experience for it, right? Number two is they're more focused on long-term over short-term, right? So like with this company, I don't really give a crap about short-term stuff. I want to actively pull out of short-term ideas because I know it's just something I have to deal with in the future. It's not a way.
You also have the capital to be able to think long-term, right? That's, I think, a significant part of it, right? Like people think short term because they need to buy groceries next week. They need to pay rent next month.
Right. Yeah. That's why I think that getting just set up for that, like the first thing we did was we changed pricing, right? So the company was not doing super hot when I came into it. So it didn't have a ton of capital, right? But it did have leads coming in the door. So that's like, I do also say like it is significantly easier to focus on growing the company if you don't have to worry about leads.
Yep.
It's just like, it's a night and day difference. If you are trying to grow and you're still worried about where leads are going to come from, solve that first, because then it's going to make everything else super easy. The next thing is, in my opinion, is like solve pricing. Like you've got leads, now figure out how to sell them at a good enough price. And then that's going to give you the lever that you need to be able to actually reinvest in, right, to the business to start to approach it that way. But I would agree. I would say like if you are trying to grow and you're still worried about where leads are going to come from, that needs to be like 90%, 80% of your focus needs to be to solving that at a systematic level, not at a short-term level, right? That which means like, I love Angie's. I think there's a lot of companies that work well with Angie's and can crush it. But it definitely is a short-term ideal. You know what I mean?
I compare that akin to buying fish at the supermarket.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'll stay
You're
full
paying a middleman.
Fish.
Yeah. Also, what's interesting is Angie's uses demand capture tactics. They don't use demand generation tactics. So that means in the winter, when demand naturally goes down, if you don't have generation system setups where you can control your own demand generation, we had no slowdown in the winter, right? Like we're going to do over 100,000 in January this year. And I think we did 60, 80,000 in December, which was more than we did in the summer of last year, right? So we've grown, but that's because our strategy is so focused on demand generation, not on capture. Because if demand naturally goes down, you just have less to capture. But if you have systems set up where you can actually take control of your own demand, then you don't have those issues nearly as much, right? And you feel it way more when you're in that 500 to 800 mark. You can absolutely build it at that point. Absolutely. You don't have to be huge to build that. You can build that at 200-300 just by doing some of those videos. That strategy that we talked about, you're going to start to accomplish that. Yeah. It does take anywhere from 4 to 12 months to start to really see the demand generation part kick in. But once it does, it just gets better over time. That's what I mean by long term. So start that super simple strategy we talked about earlier, and you're going to be investing into the long term goal. But it only took a couple dollars a day in some videos. That's all you have to do to start investing into the long term. Does that make sense? Do you feel like that was pretty helpful?
Yeah, I'm totally get it. I mean, most people who get into Facebook, they think that, hey, if I turn on my ads and I don't see a lead for a week, like I'm going to turn it off. Right. I heard someone the other day, it's like, hey, I turned my Facebook on, I got 10 leads and I got too busy, so I had to turn it off. I'm like, why did you do that?
Why?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that long-term thinking and more importantly, we said at the start briefly, you said at the start, but thinking in a systems orientation and like, how can everything be systemized? That's so important in a business that's scaling. Like the way I think about my business is like, I cannot be the bottleneck for anything: sales, marketing, production, customer success, billing, finance. Like I cannot be the bottleneck. If I'm the bottleneck, it's not going to get done.
Yes. Yeah. It's been, I'm not gonna say it's easy for me because it's not, but it's been easier because I don't live where the company is. So it has forced me to solve issues through other people's hands. So the way I kind of explain it to some clients who are struggling with this, they just have to have their hands in everything. I'm like, pretend you just got into a car accident. You can't go into work for the next 2 months. Did your business just cease to exist, or would you figure it out? Well, I'd figure it out. Then do you want to wait till you get in a car accident to do that? Or do you just want to do it now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If that's your goal, if that's not your goal, you don't have to grow that way, you know?
Yeah. I had another client who he hurt his back and all of a sudden he couldn't paint anymore. And so we're like helping him run his business from his bed, which, would have been a lot easier had he set up the infrastructure first.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's still possible. Yeah.
It's very possible. Yeah. 100%. Not going to be easy. Definitely not easy. Easy and doable are two different things. And simple and easy are two different things.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, my brother, thanks for coming on, man. This was a fun conversation. Yeah, just getting to know you. Clearly you have some very solid ideas for Facebook ads, and yeah, congrats on that. Good luck on the business, and I look forward to collaborating this year. Are you hitting up the expo?
I would. Our fourth baby's due in February, so I won't be.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Congrats. We called it quits at 2.
You did what?
We called it quits at 2. 2 babies.
Oh, you call it quits at 2?
Yeah.
I should have.
Yeah. You embrace the chaos.
I do. I thrive in chaos. Yes.
Awesome. So, man, good to meet you. And I truly look forward to collaborating and keeping in touch.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike, for having me on.
Thanks for listening to the Painter Growth Podcast. If you want to grow your painting business, go to www.paintergrowth.com or click on the top link in the description. Talk soon.